You know, every single time a pilot takes off, they're not just flying a plane. They're facing this incredible hidden challenge, mastering a completely invisible force that can literally push a multi-ton aircraft miles off course. And that force, of course, is the wind.
I mean, think about it. You look out the window of a plane, you see the roads and fields just scrolling by in a perfectly straight line, and it all seems so easy. But how on earth do they do that when the air itself is moving sideways at like 20, 30, maybe even 50 miles per hour?
Okay, so let's get right into it. The secret is you gotta stop thinking of a plane moving through the air. Instead, imagine it's moving with the air. It's kind of like a boat in a river, right? The whole river is moving, and the boat is just moving along inside of it. Well, it's the exact same thing for a plane in the wind.
And yeah, there's a name for this whole thing: wind drift. It's this constant sideways push that every pilot has to fight to get you from point A to point B. And seriously, without correcting for it, a flight from New York to LA could, well, you might end up in Mexico.
That boat analogy is just perfect for this. If a boat captain wants to go straight across a river, they can't just point the front of the boat at the other shore. The current would just sweep them way downstream. They have to actually point the boat upstream, into the current. Pilots do the exact same thing. They point the nose of the aircraft into the wind, they call it crabbing, to fly a perfectly straight path over the ground.
So if the wind is totally invisible, how in the world do pilots know how much to correct for it? They can't see the air moving around them. Well, it turns out they learn to see its effect on the world right below them.
And that right there is the secret weapon. The ground is the ultimate reference point. By watching how the plane is actually moving over the landscape, a pilot can instantly see what that invisible force is doing and make these tiny, precise adjustments.
And they use literally everything they can. You see, perfectly straight lines on the ground are a pilot's best friend. Roads, railroad tracks, power lines, even the neat little boundaries of a farmer's field, they all become instruments for judging that sideways drift.
But here's the real skill. It's not just about staring at one road. As the FAA's own handbook says, a really skilled pilot is constantly scanning, looking at tons of different references, some far ahead, some right below, to get a feel for the rate of drift, how fast they're being pushed sideways. It's a totally dynamic, fluid process.
So let's look at how they actually practice this stuff. It isn't just for cruising at 30,000 feet. This skill is honed through very specific exercises that get a pilot ready for the most critical part of any flight, the approach and landing. Student pilots will spend hours and hours flying something called a rectangular course. They literally pick a big, square field and practice flying a perfect box around it. And this isn't just some boring drill, it's a direct dress rehearsal for flying the traffic pattern around an airport, getting you lined up for a safe landing.
And this maneuver brilliantly shows the challenge. See, to fly that perfect box, a pilot can't just make the same kind of turn every time. When you're flying downwind with the wind at your back, your speed over the ground is super high, so you need a really steep, quick turn. But then, when you turn to fly upwind, into the wind, your ground speed is way slower. So now you need a very shallow, gentle turn to avoid cutting the corner. It's this beautiful four-turn dance of constantly changing your bank angle.
The whole point of all this? It's to maintain that perfect, constant distance from the field, exactly like a pilot needs to maintain a perfect, stable path when they're lining up with a runway. It's all about building that muscle memory for precision and safety.
Okay, so once they've mastered the box, the training gets even more advanced. We move from that basic rectangle to what a lot of pilots consider the ultimate test of intuitive feel for both the airplane and the wind.
This is the eights on pylons. It's this incredibly graceful but really demanding maneuver where the pilot flies a perfect figure-8 pattern around 2 points on the ground, which they call pylons. But there's a fascinating little twist to it.
And that twist is something called pivotal altitude. Now this might sound a little mind-bending, but stick with me. It's a very specific altitude where, for your exact speed over the ground, a spot on your wing seems to be perfectly pinned to that pylon on the ground. The pylon doesn't slide forward, it doesn't slide back, it just pivots right there.
And look, this isn't just some vague feeling. It is pure physics. It's actually defined by this formula right here. And that number, 11.3, is the magic constant. Now, pilots aren't sitting there doing calculus in the cockpit, but this proves that for any given ground speed, there is one, and only one, correct pivotal altitude.
So here's the genius of it. The pilot uses the pylon itself as a kind of natural altitude gauge. If that pylon on the ground appears to slide forward along the wing, they know instantly I'm too high and they need to descend a little.
If it slides backward, they know, oops, I'm too low, and they need to climb. It's instant visual feedback.
And remember, because of the wind, the plane's ground speed is always changing. That means their pivotal altitude is always changing too. So as the pilot flies this figure eight, they are in this continuous fluid state of climbing and descending, not by staring at the altimeter, but by feel, just by keeping that wing perfectly pinned to the pylon. It is an absolutely incredible display of skill.
So when you put all this together, from flying simple straight lines to these complex eights on pylons, all of these exercises have one ultimate goal: to turn a pilot's conscious, mechanical actions into pure subconscious instinct.
And believe me, it is not easy. Just look at this list of common errors. It shows you just how many things a pilot has to juggle at once: judge the wind, coordinate the controls perfectly, manage altitude, time their turns, all while dividing their attention between everything happening inside and outside the plane.
But through all that intense practice, something really amazing happens. The pilot stops thinking about what the wind is doing and starts feeling it. They develop this incredible sixth sense, this gut-level intuitive understanding of how the air is moving and exactly what the airplane needs to do.
And that's really the whole point. The goal of these maneuvers isn't just to fly a perfect shape over the ground. It's about hardwiring those skills until, as one source puts it so well, they become more instinctive than mechanical.
So, the next time you're a passenger on a flight and you're looking down at that perfectly straight path you're traveling, just remember what's really going on up in the cockpit. The pilot isn't just steering. They are in a constant, beautiful dance with an invisible river of air, making thousands of tiny corrections to give you a smooth, straight, and safe ride home.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? True mastery in pretty much any field, whether it's flying or surgery or even playing an instrument, it isn't just about knowing the rules. It's about developing a deep, intuitive feel for those invisible forces at play. So what other skills can you think of where that kind of sixth sense is really the difference between just being good and being truly great?